I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized for as much time as he may consume.
The issues at stake in the hearing that we held relate to principally to two major issues of aviation safety. One was hull inspection, and the other was inspection of the power control unit on 737 aircraft that regulate the movement of the rudder on board those aircraft. Both of those airworthiness directives and federal air regulations that govern oversight of maintenance performed on high-time aircraft and on aircraft that have this unique power control unit resulted from accidents that involved loss of life. The 737 of Aloha Airlines en route to Honolulu lost 18 feet of its hull in the air. The flight attendant was pulled to her death. Passengers strapped in suffered rapid severe decompression injury, but no other loss of life. The investigation that followed showed that there was extensive corrosion and metal fatigue and perhaps also improper technology used in putting the plates together in the hull of the aircraft. There followed a worldwide conference on aging aircraft, in which I was the lead speaker. We gathered aviation manufacturers, airline operators, and aircraft inspection agencies from every nation in the world that had a commercial aviation operation. And out of that conference resulted a number of recommendations which we crafted together in a bill that my then partner in the aviation subcommittee, a gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Klinger, and I moved through subcommittee, full committee, and to the House floor and through to enactment. The language reads, "The Administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration shall prescribe regulations that ensure the continuing airworthiness of aging aircraft. The regulations prescribed shall at least require the Administrator to make inspection area used to provide air transportation that the Administrator decides may be necessary to enable the Administrator to decide whether the aircraft is in safe condition and maintained properly for operation in air transportation. The air carrier shall at least demonstrate that as part of the inspection, maintenance of the aircraft's age-sensitive parts and components has been adequate and timely enough to ensure the highest degree of safety. And work performed under this section shall be carried out after the 14th year in which the aircraft has been in service." That was not just a happenstance. It was a very specific directive dealing with high-time aircraft, very specific directive to the FAA, to airlines, to undertake this rigorous inspection. The FAA failed to maintain that level of vigilance. The carrier failed to maintain its level of vigilance. And on at least some of those aircraft, there were found to be small cracks. But it's those small cracks that led to failures. The small cracks that led to life lost. In the other instance of the power control unit on 737 aircraft, something happened to an aircraft to cause the flight deck crew to lose control of that aircraft when the rudder made an uncommanded movement. And 137 people died in Pennsylvania. In the investigation conducted by the National Transportation Safety Board pursuant to the accident, it was found that this very small unit, just this big, had failed. Up to that time, there had been 93 million hours of operation of 737s, and Boeing company said, we haven't had any failures. But when you look back, when the NTSB looked back in the record of other unexplained accidents, they were traced to this power control unit, which was subsequently redesigned, retested under the extreme conditions that aircraft fly at high altitudes, and rebuilt and reinstalled. And a vigorous airworthiness directive put in place to require periodic inspections of the power control unit. Those inspections were missed. And the airlines involved had to go back, having missed the deadline, go back, take those aircraft out of service, and inspect those parts. That's what we're talking about. Vigilance at the highest possible level. And I've seen the situation where in safety, a very comfortable relationship can exist between the overseer and the practitioner of safety. And to say, as we do in the Congress, to say as we do about other members of the executive branch, that you must move around from one position to another in executive branch, and we say to those who leave service, leave the federal public service, that you cannot come back and lobby the Congress for a period of time, is an already established practice. To say that in a period of 2 years, a person leaves the FAA to go work to go work elsewhere outside of government, is not to say to that person your service is not valued. We just want to make sure you're not using it to a contrary purpose to that which the person had served for all those years. We only, in this language, prevent that person from working for the carrier they once oversaw. I think that's a reasonable step. It was one recommended by the Inspector General. I think it is in the best interest of safety to do this. It is in the best interest of safety to continue the Air Transportation Oversight System, ATOS, which airlines, manufacturers are engaged in developing trend lines. By watching these trend lines where we know and see certain things happening and take action before there is a failure, before there is a catastrophe, to prevent a tragedy. ATOS is a very good system, but it should not be transformed into one in which the airline is in the command position. There is a proper balance, and I think this legislation will bring the FAA back into proper balance. I reserve the balance of my time.